Hello and welcome to Coffee Break. It's Steve Barrett, Editorial Director of PR Week, here for another episode. And we're here with Catherine Frymark, who's the EVP of Corporate Comms at Mattel. How are you doing, Catherine?
Thank you, Steve. I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Calling in from sunny LA. We're all very jealous here on it's getting a bit warmer on the East Coast, but yeah, I can see you've got 72 and sunny, isn't it? That's the weather.
I cannot complain.
Yeah. Now, you moved over to California for the role and started in December 2020. So you moved in lockdown, and I think you've moved over now to the area. So how's that been? How was it starting a new gig during COVID and during that crazy time?
You know, it exceeded all of my expectations for having an impact and starting in a pandemic. I think, like so many companies, and thankfully, by the time I had joined Mattel, they'd figured out how to be very productive in a remote capacity. And I found my virtual walkabout with getting to know all of my peers and colleagues. People were very generous with their time over Zoom, and willing to the onboarding process and getting to know the company and my team went surprisingly well. I think in the pandemic, as I'm sure you've heard from lots of companies and colleagues.
Yeah, it's been amazing how the industry stepped up, isn't it? Not just in PR, but across the workforce, how people have stepped up. Such that the narrative maybe 2 years ago was that, higher ups didn't think people would work from home effectively, but actually they've proved they can, and they do. So it has been incredible, hasn't it?
There have been a lot of silver linings. I think, certainly productivity, work-life balance, work-life integration. We've all been, I think we've also come closer in a lot of ways. We see people's cats crawling along the keyboards or children popping up in the cameras, and we're reminded of the roles we play, at home and at work. And certainly at Mattel, there's story after story of resilience and productivity and commitment across the organization.
Yeah, we're doing our Pets in PR series and profiling some of those stories. So that's been very popular. And you've had a pretty incredible impact on the company, because they had a record year last year in terms of financials. That was presumably all down to you joining, yeah?
My timing was great when I got that call from Mattel. Certainly, I had a great affinity for the brand, the company's purpose, Barbie as a child. But also, I wish I could take credit, but the engine was in motion long before I got here, and our CEO and the leadership team had set the path on a course for transforming the company into an IP-driven media company. And I've been able to tell some really amazing stories in the past year plus since I joined.
Yeah, tell us a bit about that. Put a bit of meat on the bone. You do have a very specific strategy around content and around IP, like you said, which is maybe slightly different to some of your competitors. So talk us through how you're going to activate on that.
Well, it's a great story. I think, Mattel, when our chairman and CEO, Ynon Kreiz, came in, he saw a treasure trove of content and IP that had been in many ways untapped, both in terms of realizing the potential for it in the space of film, TV, digital gaming, etc. And then certainly, improving the company from an operational point of view. So he set around the process of a pretty sweeping transformation and turnaround for the company. Turnaround now we're considering complete, and we've moved to growth mode following 6 consecutive quarters of growth. But the stories within of the brand's growth and development, Barbie having a record year, 63 years young, and the brand's never been better. And that story across all of the Mattel brands and products has been a wonderful one to be able to tell, as has our venture into film and television and content. And as our CEO likes to say, there's 10 Fast and Furious films on TV and none for Hot Wheels. And so the potential is there. And our head of films, who I've been just so delighted to partner with, has 14 film projects in development and 2 that are entering production. In fact, this month, the Barbie movie, written and directed by Greta Gerwig and starring Margot Robbie, goes into production and will be in theaters targeted for 2023, followed by Masters of the Universe, a relaunch of an iconic piece of Mattel IP. So that has been a really, really wonderful place to be as a storyteller, to take that content and those brands that have such resonance for generation after generation and being able to tell them in new ways.
Yeah, and you're in the right place for that, aren't you? In LA, in the midst of Hollywood. So yeah, we'll be really excited to see that happen. And Barbie's so iconic, isn't she? So how has Barbie reflected COVID and the lockdown, and what can we expect from Barbie? We've seen the way she's evolved as a character and as a toy to reflect modern generations and the way society's changed. What can we expect over the next 12 months apart from that film, which obviously sounds really exciting?
There's so much. Barbie is an icon. She's certainly more than a doll. Number one global toy property in the U.S. Or in the world last year per NPD, a group that tracks our brands. Also, so much content on Netflix. We have several animated Barbie music specials that air on Netflix and always rank in the top 10 of content for children and families. And then, of course, as you mentioned, the film, but the Barbie brand is one that is rooted in purpose. All of our brands, and this is part of what our leaders on the brand side call the Mattel playbook, which is all about purpose. Every brand has a reason to be, and Barbie's is to inspire the limitless potential in all girls. And she herself has been on a journey, and she is both timely and timeless, and also now the most diverse doll line on the market, which we're very, very proud of. And even just this past week, we launched our latest, in honor of International Women's Day, latest line of Barbies, inspiring girls to be all they can be. So from the product to the content to the film, really Barbie is at the center of culture at all times, and we're very proud of that brand.
Yeah, absolutely. How are your agencies supporting that as well? And because we've profiled Barbie winning PR Week awards over the years and doing some great work. So how do they play into this new role, and have you changed the strategy at all since you came in December 2020?
So our brand, I oversee corporate communications, but work very closely with our brands and their partners, both external firms and the amazing team in-house at Barbie. But it's been, as one of our power brands, as we call them, and a lead brand, it's one that we weave into their narrative, and we support at the corporate level, absolutely. All of the both cause marketing, and brand and corporate initiatives behind the amazing Barbie brand.
So let's dig into that a bit more about purpose. It's on the agenda for every corporate communicator these days.
Yes.
Purposeful business seems to be what everybody wants, all stakeholders want. Although sometimes you do get pushback, don't you? You get activist investors who say, look, we want to see shareholder value. We want to see returns and dividends. And actually, we just want you to make profits and get stuff done. How do you sort of plot the right line on purpose and actually persuade people that purpose can be profitable as well, so the two are not mutually exclusive?
Well, I think, Steve, that narrative, they're interwoven more and more, and I'm glad to see it in all of our corporate stories. Walking through the offices here at Mattel, we've recently redesigned our first floor, and our purpose and our mission are literally across the walls of the company, but it's more than that. It's more than in a boilerplate on a press release or on a PowerPoint deck. It's something that guides our purpose and our mission. And it's something through which, we funnel everything. So just like I mentioned, all of our products and our brands have a reason to be. Our purpose as a company is to empower the next generation to explore the wonder of childhood and reach their full potential. And we align everything to that, both as a company, and everything related to citizenship, ESG, and topics of those sorts. And so they are increasingly interwoven, and we have a good story to tell because we do live by our purpose and focus on being good corporate citizens while we're increasing shareholder value.
Yeah, and you mentioned that the wonder of childhood, and we're seeing horrific images from Europe, of kids and families, fleeing war-torn Ukraine. So how do you approach that as a corporate communicator, and where does purpose fit into that in terms of your response to something like that?
Absolutely. Well, in my role overseeing corporate communications, I also have the great privilege to oversee the Mattel Children's Foundation, and so we do a lot, both driven by our purpose and our mission, and through the lens of both our people and our products. And so, guided by that North Star of our mission to empower the next generation, we look to try and use our greatest resource, like I said, our people and our toys, to bring joy, comfort, and entertainment and inspiration to children all over the world. And so we will often activate employee matching programs, both from a disaster relief point of view and in moments of crisis. And it's part of what we do as a company. Our toys bring joy to children around the world, and that's where we focus our energies in terms of giving. It's a great privilege to be able to do so.
Yeah, for sure. No, it can make a great difference. One of the other parts of corporate communications that's been really heightened during the last couple of years is employee engagement, because on a number of levels, one, you've got to look after your people. We talked about how everyone stepped up, both frontline workers and those who work, from home, and are now gradually sort of coming back to. How important is employee engagement, and do you feel that the C-suite and the CEOs level executives understand the importance of it a lot more than maybe they used to, even a couple of years ago?
I think they understand it, and it's a top priority across the entire leadership team. And I can't take credit for the amazing employee engagement activities. Before I got here, our head of people and culture has done a remarkable job, and I think also during lockdown, of keeping people engaged, inspired, and also focused on wellness. As we've talked about, there have been silver linings in terms of productivity and connectivity and being able to do what you need to do, given all the amazing tools that we're using right now, but at the expense, certainly, and sacrifice of balance and wellness. And so the company has made that a top priority, but always communicating both, our goals, our priorities, our results, and celebrating our successes. And that's something that, at the highest levels, the company is focused on, and it really shows in our employee engagement scores. I'm very passionate about internal communications. That's part of my remit here at Mattel. And so we prioritize, first and foremost, informing our employees about decisions we've made, sharing our financial results, sharing how we're responding in moments of crisis and philanthropy, and celebrating all the amazing products we have around the globe. So it's a high priority here, and I think it shows. And the Mattel workforce is highly engaged, very proud of their history and their roles that they play at the company, and their role in developing children.
Yeah, and just to finish up and build on that, you're starting to welcome people back into the offices, I think, and starting to see people again, and visitors, etc. So how do you see that panning out, for those who maybe want to? Everyone, I presume, will have some sort of hybrid work arrangement, but there'll be some people who don't want to come back at all. Others will be, gagging to get back and get away from home. How are you sort of navigating that?
Absolutely. Well, again, our HR team's the tip of the spear on this, but as you use the word properly, that's a hybrid approach. So we are starting to welcome teams back, and we're emphasizing flexibility, especially in a town like Los Angeles, where people are going to be getting back their old commuting muscles. That's a tax on a long work day, and so people managers are being very flexible as people come back, phase back, and return in a hybrid capacity, and enjoying sort of the flexibility and productivity tools that we came to love during the pandemic. But I, for one, am glad to start to see my team in person a little bit more, and collaborate together. It is a highly collaborative culture here at Mattel, and we've been doing it very well in pandemic, and look forward, I think, to being all together again.
Yeah, we're getting excited about the PR Week Awards back in person for the first time in 3 years, and really looking forward to that party and seeing everyone again, getting out and traveling and meeting everyone. It's such an important part of the business. So yeah, and look forward to seeing you again in person, Catherine.
You too, Steve. You're welcome here at Mattel when you're out to LA next.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, West Coast, I haven't been there for too long. So thanks for giving us a catch up. Say hi to Barbie for us. And
I will.
Keep doing that good work on the foundation side as well. Thanks for joining us on Coffee Break.